Hey, I'm Sprout, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over wave bouncing and what its use cases are and how to do it. To start off, I'm going to mention that wave bouncing is a pretty difficult tech, so if you aren't able to be reverse consistently, I would not recommend learning this tech, and if you are a kind of new beginning player, this tech probably won't be useful for you. And so that's kind of just a quick disclaimer I'm going to give out. Start off, we're actually going to be in the controller configuration menu, and this is because you want to set one of your bumpers or triggers to a special button. This will make the tech much easier, as you'll see later in the video. And also, random thing, if you are a Steve player, this is also a good thing to have, because block placement is very difficult when using the B button, and it's difficult in a similar way as wave bouncing. You can see in my case, I have my left bumper as my special button, but any of these work, and if you are in GameCube, I recommend finding, if you have a similar controller layout to me, I recommend using one of these as your special button. If you can't manage to find an open slot, this tech is going to be much more difficult if you try to use the B button for special, so just try to free up one of these if possible. Now we're actually going to learn how to do a wave bounce. So the first step is just going to be jumping. And then you will want to be able to be reverse with, or be turn around, that works too, with your left bumper, or, well, in my case it's left bumper, or your special that's bound to one of your bumpers or triggers. And so just practice be reversing with that. You can do neutral B turnarounds and reverses. You can do side Bs. But learning just how to do this motion is important. The next step would be to quickly, so once you do the turnaround, you want to quickly flick your stick in the direction your character is originally facing. So you can see at the top left what controls I'm doing and what inputs. And so when I'm doing that, I'm just hitting I'm just doing the beer first and then quickly flicking the stick in the direction my character was originally facing. And this results in Diddy Kong originally turning left, but then kind of turning back around to the right. And so I think if you B reverse, then he turns around and then turns back around. But if you just do a normal turnaround, he will just keep facing the same way. And so wave bouncing, kind of as it implies, makes you bounce backwards. And this is useful for in several ways. Donkey Kong is able to jump off, down B, wave bounce back, and so it's much safer way of using down B off stage, because you are less likely to fly over here and have to recover from here as Donkey Kong. Other characters like Wolf right here can, kind of similar to Diddy, he can use his laser to wave bounce, and that gives him better positioning. But with Diddy, it's not as good with Popgun, because obviously Popgun's not nearly as good as Wolf Laser. So I don't recommend doing Popgun cancel wave bouncing as much as you would with Wool, but still a useful tech to know. A couple things to note are that wave bouncing is possible with every move that is a special and can be B reversed, because I know a few moves can't be B reversed, but as long as it is a special, you should be able to wave bounce it. So you can see you can wave bounce even up B. With Diddy Kong, it doesn't look like it, but I am doing it, and that's because Diddy stalls midair, obviously. He can also do it with side B, which, if you try, of course with Diddy, it's not very useful. Kind of just looks silly. But again, also useful for some other characters if you want. And another thing to take note is that make sure you're hitting the correct stick dead zone, because sometimes if I want to say Popgun B reverse or Popgun wave bounce, then I'll do a side B like that. And you don't want to misinput it like that. You want to make sure you are hitting the correct dead zone. It can be a bit tricky. As you can see, I'm not as good as it on neutral B. But say I'm trying to side B, make sure not to hit up B and do it. As always, I recommend you practice this in training mode, because that is the easiest way to get used to tech. And try, and if you're not familiar with it, don't try it much in game, because if you mess it up, there can be a pretty good consequence, especially if you use it off stage. Now, another thing to note is that when you time the C-stick, the timing for flicking the C-stick is pretty lenient. And so, if you want to, like, when you flick the stick, there's a pretty big window that you can hit. See, like right now, I'm trying to do it pretty late, and you can see that it works after 2 frames. It works if you flick the stick on the exact same frame as using the special. But if I think the frame window can go up to even like 4 or 5, and so it's kind of just crazy. It's not too easy, but there is a good bit of leniency if you are trying to learn this. So now I'm going to showcase probably my favorite thing to do as Diddy with wave bouncing, and that is basically running off stage, plucking banana, and recovering back. So you can see this is pretty difficult, and it will take a minute to learn, even if you are good with wave bouncing. But the second you run off stage, you want to banana pluck wave bounce, Z catch banana, and make sure you air dodge up. Because when you Z catch banana, say you miss it, well, that time I didn't miss it, but say you miss the catch and you accidentally air dodge, if you air dodge up, there's a better chance of you making it back like that than if you just neutral air dodged. Because if I neutral air dodged here and didn't get the banana, then I would have been stuck falling and probably would have died. Now, another thing you can do here is if you say get the banana, if you get the banana, then you can choose to go under the stage if your opponent's edge guarding you up here. So if you pluck it and get it down here, you can go under the stage. Of course, you can't do that on PS2. But on other stages, if your opponent is edge guarding you while you're doing this tech, you can just go straight under and force your opponent to run all the way over here and reset up. This is especially good against Steve's, because Steve usually sets up a lot when he edge guards, and so you can just ignore all of it and go to the other side. This is, of course, just useful in normal gameplay without this trick, but it's really nice against a lot of opponents. And another thing you can do, if you went under the stage a lot, you can fake out going under the stage. So I can pretend to go right, and then last second change it to go up. And so that will kind of confuse your opponent and make them less confident about edge guarding. So kind of going over the tech again as a recap, you want to be reversed like you normally would, and then you want to, or turn around of course, and then you want to flick the stick immediately after. And so these are kind of what it's going to look like mid-game. And with Diddy Kong, of course, it's a bit hard not to do a strong banana pluck, but you can, I found if you hold the, like, opposite direction, like turn around, pluck, and then do it, then you won't get the strong throw like that, which is harder to grab. But I'll link Dakpo's video on the tech, because that's where I originally learned it, where you run off banana pluck. So I'll make sure to link that down in the description in case you're interested. And I think that just about concludes the video. Now, before it ends, I would like to mention that I am trying to post a lot of tutorial content, so if you are struggling with stuff that is, usually I'm posting more simple stuff, but if you're struggling with some different tech, make sure to check out my channel, because it might just be on there. And make sure to always try to like the video, helps boost the engagement, of course. But yeah, thanks for watching.